We're joined today to get a better understanding of Poda Lifestyle and Wellness's newest member of their global advisory board, Nick Kadysh. Nick is the founder and CEO of Pharmala Biotech and has held numerous high-level positions at companies such as General Electric Canada, Red Bull Canada, and most notably as former head of corporate affairs for Juul Labs. Nick, welcome, my good sir.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and absolutely. And, you know, it's really nice to see companies really starting to bring on multiple people within the space that they're in onto their advisory board, because you need that. This is a new company going in a new space and a relatively new product. But if you don't mind giving investors a quick background on the numerous positions that you've held over the years in regards to your corporate, public, and government affairs, the large corporations, and also within the Canadian government.
Sure. Well, like as you alluded to, I've spent the majority of my career now working as a lobbyist for large corporations. But I started my career off working in the Canadian government. I worked in the Parliament of Canada, and I worked in the Ontario Legislative Assembly. And so when I left there, I went to a little company called Red Bull Energy Drink as the head of public affairs for Canada. And I spent the majority of my career as a lobbyist working on health and health adjacent issues. So, Red Bull is obviously a beverage, but there was a lot of issues around their regulatory structure, around caffeine as an added stimulant inside beverages. At the time, that was sort of the bleeding edge of that marketplace. And from there, I went to General Electric, where I did a lot of work on medical devices, a little bit of work on our radiopharmaceuticals business. And then most recently, I've been working with Juul Labs. I only left Juul Labs this year. I was there from the launch of the Canadian business onward, working on regulatory affairs, corporate affairs, communications, all of the sort of public-facing elements of that business. And most recently, I've left Juul Labs, and I've actually started my own company working in the life sciences space.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Such a large, illustrious career in such short time. I appreciate that we were talking about that earlier, but all of those different things give you a lot of experience around those corporate and government affairs, because as the heat not burn sector really starts growing, there is going to be a lot of different reasons for why a gentleman like yourself is so important in your role to help them get through all these. And that's one of the questions that I have is that, talking on your past experiences that you have, how does that now translate to working with Poda as they gear up for their global expansion? But most notably, are there any pitfalls or past lessons that, your previous positions have helped you realize and, say, for Poda, navigate around these, and so they don't have to go through those same lessons that you've gone through in the past?
Absolutely. And listen, I would be a fool if I hadn't learned a couple of lessons from my past roles. But the biggest thing I think I've learned over my time in all of these companies is, you come to acute moments of crisis in all of these industries where they go from being sort of less regulated to being more regulated. And some companies, the smart companies who bring on good advisors and who, act according to the will of the regulator, those companies will survive. I think great example is Red Bull. I mean, they went through a real crisis 2013 onwards, but right now they're in a great place, right? They handled that crisis well. And Juul, I think the word is still out. We'll see what happens with Juul Labs. They've certainly done a great job trying, but they're in a tough spot. So I think my goal as an advisor to Poda is making sure that the company is successful, but making sure that we're successful by working with regulators, making sure that we're positioned for success on the regulatory side.
Yeah, and I like that. I'd like to touch on that for a second as well, because with Juul Canada, obviously a company that all of a sudden, in the States as well, of course, they exploded onto the scene. But now there's some lawsuits that are going on. They're worried about where they were targeting. What I find very interesting is that although Poda is a smoking alternative product, they are targeting the 1.3 billion current smokers. They're not going after, you see these vapes, you see a lot of teenagers using it. I'm not sure many teenagers will look at a Poda product and find that attractive. They're looking for other things. So it's very interesting how you can steer away from those. Do you believe that's going to be able to help you and Poda in general really launch this product even faster and probably safer?
Absolutely. And I think you hit it right on the money. You want to make sure that your product is appealing only to those people that can actually derive a benefit from it. And non-smokers, there's no benefit to the company, there's no benefit to them. You want to make sure that you are doing everything right from the get-go. And I think Poda is very well positioned from that perspective, because to your point, I think the product is appealing to smokers and not to anyone else.
Yeah, it's actually one of the main reasons why personally I came in as an investor after speaking with Ryan and interviewing him, because that was a very important point to myself
Totally.
as well.
And look, and heat not burn has proven itself to be very, very successful for other products, of course, but in markets like Japan, where frankly the regulator now looks at these products as like very, very effective as a harm reduction mechanism. So I think that there's a great opportunity here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of great opportunities, someone recently just came on to the board of advisors for Poda as well, Michael Nederhoff, and he's also going to be consulting their board. And you've worked with him in your past position with Juul because he was the former president there as well. And the question I have for yourself, having that relationship, does that now instantly create synergies between the two of you for what you can bring to Poda as they continue their expansion overseas and eventually globally, of course?
So funny story, but Mike and I almost worked together at Red Bull Energy Drink way back in 2013. I think he left the company about a month before I came on. So we almost met back then. But no, look, I've got a great working relationship with Mike. I think we have great synergies together. He's an expert on the business side, on marketing these products, on making sure they get distributed effectively. My goal is to make sure that we communicate effectively, we get that good regulatory uptake, that we have a great relationship with regulators in every single market that we launch in, and that we're positioned for success. So absolutely, Mike and I, I love the guy. We work very, very well together. I'm excited to, dig into a new challenge with him.
And excited as well, both from an investor, but also from someone who's going to be covering the story. I love seeing these synergies come together because that's how companies succeed. So, Nick, I appreciate very much for your time and taking this time to speak with investors, taking a little bit of a feel for who you are. And I wish you all the best in this next journey that you're on right now with Poda. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, man. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. Take care now.